In tonight's headlines, the Bills Committee completes the scrutiny of the draft domestic national security law, with a second reading resuming as soon as possible. A timetable is set for the redevelopment of Wah Fu Estate, one of Hong Kong's oldest public housing projects. And China hits out after US representatives threaten to ban TikTok unless it is sold by its parent company.
After meeting for more than 43 hours over 7 consecutive days, lawmakers have completed their scrutiny of the Safeguarding National Security Bill. This included 40 amendments that the government proposed after the Bills Committee vetted all 181 clauses. Members unanimously agreed with the amendments and supported the administration's bid to resume the second reading of the bill as soon as possible. Secretary for Justice Paul Lam said after nearly 27 years, the government is very close to completing the legislative exercise as required under Article 23 of the Basic Law. Security Minister Chris Tang, meanwhile, condemned Chinese-language newspaper Ming Pao for what he called a malicious headline and subhead, saying it was misleading and false. The newspaper wrote that the domestic security law amendment included strengthening the way the media is managed and that defendants charged with 4 offenses could be tried on the mainland. Ming Pao issued a correction and apology online and removed the subhead from its website.
I understand that Ming Pao has already made clarification and apology online, but damage has been done. I hope that Ming Pao can mend his ways, correctly report Article 23, as well as other relevant reports.
The Bills Committee will deliver a verbal report of its work to the House Committee tomorrow. Janice Low, Cable News.
Built on the southwestern edge of Hong Kong Island, Wah Fu Estate features breathtaking views of Waterfall Bay and is a stone's throw away from the residence Bel-Air luxury development. It is also one of Hong Kong's oldest public housing complexes to remain standing to this day, welcoming its first batch of residents in 1967. A decade after the government first announced plans to redevelop the sprawling estate, a concrete timeline is finally published. The Housing Authority says the 2 oldest blocks, Wah On House and Wah Lock House, will be demolished in the first phase. Around 900 households will have to move out by July 2027. 1/5 of the units are occupied by senior citizens. They will be eligible for a removal allowance of up to $32,000, depending on the size of the household. Tenants have the option of settling at a new estate on nearby Wah King Street or receiving a one-off cash allowance. Singletons will get $78,000, while 2-person households will pocket $96,000. 23 shops will be affected. They can opt for a one-off grant of $125,000 or continue trading at public wet markets elsewhere. The second phase of demolition will begin in 2028, covering 3 more blocks and with similar arrangements for tenants. Phases 3 and 4 will follow in the next decade, with the whole project scheduled for completion by 2041. Clarissa Wong, chairwoman of the Housing Authority's Subsidized Housing Committee, said outreach teams will visit affected households and pay special attention to the needs of elderly tenants. Raymond Yang, Cable News.
Many people tend to turn to ointment to counter signs of aging, such as wrinkles around the eyes. But the Consumer Council warned that not all creams are effective, and some could also cause an allergic reaction. The watchdog invited over 220 Asian women aged 40 to 55 to take part in a split-face study involving 15 brands. For 30 days, they had to apply a skincare product on half their face under the eye. All the products managed to hydrate the skin, but only 4 reduced wrinkles more significantly than the rest. 6 brands were found to contain allergens, including formaldehyde.
Eye area is really, really sensitive. So if you are allergic to fragrance or formaldehyde, probably this time, you have to be mindful on how to select, the product. Going back to the risk by itself, it's mainly the possibility of causing dermatitis, around your eye area. So this kind of contact dermatitis definitely, may not be ideal for anyone, to happen, because it will, definitely, make you feel quite uncomfortable. So we have to be mindful about that.
A video sharing app used by 170 million Americans is at the heart of the latest row between China and the United States. This came after the House of Representatives voted by 352 to 65 to ban TikTok unless its Chinese parent company ByteDance sells the app within 6 months. US lawmakers fear that ByteDance could be forced to hand over the data of American TikTok users to Beijing. TikTok chief executive Chu Shou-zi has repeatedly assured US regulators that the company is committed to keeping user data safe and secure. China wasted no time in blasting the United States. Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin accused Washington of ditching fair competition and violating international trade rules. He said it was sheer robber's logic to try every means to snatch good things from others.
美方应切实尊重市场经济。
Commerce Ministry spokesman He Yadong called on the US to respect the market economy and warned that Beijing will defend its lawful rights and interests. US President Joe Biden has vowed to sign the bill if it passes both houses of Congress. But passage in the Senate is uncertain. Some senators oppose banning TikTok, and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has been non-committal. In a surprise twist, former President Donald Trump, who tried to ban the app in 2020, has changed tack. He said banning TikTok would benefit Facebook, which he called an enemy of the people. Trump added that many youngsters would go crazy without the popular app.
Some Palestinians in Gaza returned to their hometown to salvage what they could after hearing that Israeli troops had withdrawn. As they had feared, the town of Hamad was reduced to rubble and made uninhabitable. There were bodies among the ruins, taking the Palestinian death toll from Israeli assaults to over 31,000. This woman said Israeli soldiers took away her husband and devastated her neighborhood. With food in short supply, the Al Jazeera TV network reported 2 more Israeli attacks on Palestinians waiting to be fed, killing at least 11 and wounding dozens. Over 2 million Palestinians facing starvation were encouraged by the news that a ship operated by charity groups had left Cyprus for Gaza with 200 tons of food. A second vessel carrying double the amount of supplies will set off from Cyprus as soon as the first one reaches its destination.
Here we are preparing different types of food products that can resist the conditions of the sea and a long journey, choosing the best products, organizing them in pallets, packing them in the best way how they can be secure and safe during the travel.
A majority of employers in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area are not expecting to hire people this year, according to an industry survey. In an interview of 1,100 business executives, KPMG found that 41% of respondents expected the company's headcount to be frozen. Another 14% predicted a downsizing exercise to come this year, up from 11% last year. Just over 40% of employers were looking to increase manpower, compared to 48% in 2023.
The softer sentiment overall was noticeable, particularly in consumer markets, professional services, and in the real estate sector. On the consumer market sector, I think the drop-off in sentiment was probably the most noticeable. Bearing in mind that when we did the survey in 2023, it was January 2023 when COVID restrictions were starting to fall away.
Despite the pessimism, 4 in 10 respondents are looking to make career moves in the first half of this year. For those who are planning to stay put, nearly 80% are expecting a pay rise, with most hoping for an increment of 3 to 5%.